Alright, let's check these relationships. So, Deandre, a lot more hearts. Kyler still hates us, even though we saved his life and had badger jokes. There's just no hope for you. And I got my schedule set out for week 5, so let's start it. Oh, with a scene. Ah! Thanks, Melissa. Freaked me out. The halfway point, huh? Today, Colin Cave would receive an influx of new students, meaning repeated lectures and speeches. I could count on Kyler, Chantal, and Joan returning. And of course the main excavation team, but... As usual, the truck pulled up before the closed gate. Augustine hopped out and unlocked it, before returning to his vehicle to park it elsewhere. Sherry approached me, patting her purse. I have your journal. Please go over it when you have the chance. Will do. Thanks, Sherry. She disappeared into the museum. As time passed, more and more students arrived. Unlike the first time, I immediately greeted them with broken French, then explained I could not speak it well. They responded in English with various degrees of fluency, appreciating the warm welcome. Hendrik and Rosemarie arrived next. Hendrik gave a friendly wave as I hurried to meet them. Leaning down, he greeted me with a light kiss to both cheeks, and Rosemarie followed suit. Hey, kiddo. How was your weekend? Kiddo? I thought about how I curled up under the blanket, drowning out all of the freaky noises with my music. I survived. It was good. Nice, relaxing weekend. Yes. We talked until Hendrik and Rosemarie excused themselves to set up their equipment. It looked like everyone arrived. Even Kyler gave me a nod of acknowledgement before vanishing to the tent area, although he apparently hates my guts. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted Deandre and Shoji, both pulling their luggage, and I brightened. Stop. Deandre's return was expected, but Shoji had no reason to continue the elective. Aw, Shoji. I would greet you first, but Deandre's my boo. I bounded over to him, then straightened my posture, expecting a social kiss. Back for round 2, are you? Staying in the game? He leaned over, but briefly examined my face before following through with a cheek kiss. I don't have Nutella. Making sure you don't have anything on your face this time. Deandre, it was just one time. One time. And yes, I'm back in the game. I'd rather miss only 1 month's worth of training than 3. Grinning, he placed a hand on my head and mussed my hair. I'll be relying on you, Mel, like you promised. Help this oaf understand the whole archaeology thing. Of course you can count on me. And you're far from an oaf, you English major, you. Anyway, we'll catch up later. Need to reclaim my tent before the lecture starts. Right, later. I caught Shoji's eye and gave him a cheerful wave. Hey, we get to talk to you too, good. Morning, what brings you back here? Oh, don't tell me you failed. No. I passed. It was a B. I thought I'd do worse, so it was a pleasant surprise. So why did you continue? Well... What? What is it? He stopped when we heard Augustine shouting, making huge motions with his arms to urge everyone to the center of the field. Shoji dropped his voice to a whisper as students weaved around us. Because it's been a good experience for me. Before I could respond, everyone fell quiet as Augustine began talking, and I turned to listen. I couldn't believe it was already the halfway point. Time to make the most out of the last 4 weeks. Ooh, please stats don't fail me. Okay, so far so good. Alright, we can clean. We're good. 9, 17. Yeah. See, I got this down. 7, 13, 18. Alright. 9, 17. Okay. 17, 24. Okay, close enough. 9, 17. Toothpick. Ah, excellent. All right. Amazing. C14 dating. Radiocarbon dating. That's the name of the game. Well, let's read about that. Should be in our lab. A method that dates organic material reliably up to 50,000 years ago, or years old. All living things absorb natural carbon-14 and carbon-12 from the atmosphere. When the organism dies, its carbon-14 atoms start to decay at a stable rate. By comparing the 14C/12C ratio, one can determine its age. Well, I was getting better in the lab, but why is it so hard to write on bones? Cursing mentally, I clean the dip pen and then scratch its nib into the bone to remove the blotch. Careful, don't damage the bone. Scratch my head. Maybe I could have Rosemary demonstrate for me again. It's just writing some letters and numbers, though. Why am I struggling so much with the final step? Poor Shoji's like, you need to... Maybe I need to angle the pen more? Huh? He looks like... Words. He looks like he wants to say something. Did you need something? Shoji, you know what's going on. Help a sister out. Shoji, can you show me how you write? I keep smudging the bones. Of course! I don't mind at all! He looks so pleased. He stood up and maneuvered toward my workstation. After he sat down, I passed him the tooth and he turned it over until he found a flat surface. Thanks for helping me. It's not a problem. I like helping when I can. I watched him read my document and I pointed to the recorded bone and its identification. He carefully dipped the pen, then fluently jotted down the label. When he was satisfied, he placed the pen down on a paper towel and handed the tooth to me. It should be okay once it dries. How did you do it so neatly? It's hard to explain. Can you write something for me? Taking the pen, I dipped it, then scribbled something on the back of the document. I was sure it wouldn't ruin the document if I wrote in the corner. Pan skulls? It says pen skills. I know, my writing is a little messy. I'll try again. Anyway, you're holding it correctly. You tend to blotch when you're making an upward stroke. You need to have the nib barely touch the surface when you do that, or it'll snag, especially if the surface is uneven. If that makes sense. I attempted again, and this time my E didn't look as crooked or spotty. Oh wow, what a difference already. You'll get better with practice. Thanks again, I really appreciate it. Dearen. What a sweetheart is Shoji. Ow, my hand! I keep doing that. Alright, time to clean again. 8:15. Toothpick. Oh my, that was unusual. Alright. 8:15. 21. Okay, pretty close. Okay. Lower Paleolithic. Alright. That's the spine, right? Oh my. What's going on here? But first, a subdivision of the Stone Age lasting between 2.6 million years to 300,000 years ago. This is when our hominid ancestors lived, such as Homo habilis and Homo erectus. First stone tools appeared, earliest control of fire. What? Kyler is in the lab? What a rare sight! If you have any questions or need... I can't focus with you hanging over my shoulder. Fine, I'll let you be. So languid. Oh. Rosemary wandered over to my table. Don't get along? Not my fault. I'm charming and lovable, and he's... Ugh, can't explain it. It feels like I'm talking to a wall. Or a square. A square? It's a running joke in dance that we call boring, stuffy people squares, since they don't think outside of the box and all. A square! That suits him perfectly. He never looks beyond the square he digs at. Still, I wish he'd seek my help more. It's bad enough he ignores Hendrik. Augustine is brilliant and contributed to both archaeology and microstratigraphy, but he's just one mind, one man. We all have our own ways of doing and teaching, and it's good to widen that horizon. I don't mind it so much. Augustine and I butt heads less when a student sticks to their preferred teacher. Are you referring to the Flint incident? The burrow incident? The stalagmite incident? This is why I'm in the lab during the summer. That sounds like a whole other topic. Pretty much. Bottom line is, Kyler and I hardly speak to each other, and he never asks for my help. That's because you planted napped flint in his wet screen. Oh. Ooh, that was good. Twice. I thought he'd find it funnier the second time. You act like there was a first. He's gonna struggle when he gets into the real world. As skilled as he is, no one will take notice if he doesn't network. I see. Rosemary is trying to help him in her own way. He's also fun to tease. He does have that face that screams, "Please bully me." Or not. Ew. But I can see what she means. Oh, Kyler. So sundari. Oh, thank you for catching that, Deandre. Ooh. Alright, please. Oh, why did you have to be a 10 by 10? Alright, you know the drill. I'll bring it back when I have a thing. Oh my goodness, I think I finally did it. Like 15 minutes later. I had to clear the board 3 times. But I think I have it finally. 4, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, and 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 1, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Please. Yes! Prepared core. Thank goodness that's over. And I succeeded at cooking. Ah! Oh, I broke my bone! No! Not again! Ow! God. Oh, see you in a bit. Okay, that didn't take me as long as the last one, but still took me a while. Let's see. 5, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 5, 2, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4. Okay, good. 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, 1, 1, 3, 1, 5, 10. I had a mini heart attack there. I thought that said 1, 1, 5. Trowel. I'm gonna absolutely die in Kyler's route because he lives in this freaking cave. Alright. Trowel. Did I read about... I don't think I read about the prepared core. Prepared core is a nucleus of a shaped rock with its outer shell removed. This allowed the rock to be portable and give easy access to desired flakes after a few precise strikes. This indicates Neanderthals could plan ahead and envision the end product of the core. Trowel. The popular and iconic tool associated with archaeologists. The trowel has many uses and comes in different shapes and sizes. Its thin, flexible blade is perfect for cutting into sediments and scraping dirt off findings. I should save up for one. For gardening. My trowel wavered before I steeled myself and decisively cut through the sediments. My pace definitely slowed down, especially with my recent mistakes brought to light, and I sighed. I glanced at Kyler, who was unaware of my struggles, and I decided not to bug him about it. I guess I secretly hoped for someone to notice and cheer me up. Wonder if I should speak to Sherry. Oh. One of the protruding rocks became loose as I dug underneath it. I pulled it out, careful not to make a mess. Another stone nestled below, shifted. Yes, that's a word, shifted in my hand as I collected them. Assuming it was a fracture of the first rock, I tossed it into the bucket without a second look. Before I could refocus on my work, I heard someone come down the ladder. Uh-oh, please be here for Kyler, please be. Oh no.
Melissa, I wanted to talk to you.
Sure, what about? I tried to disguise my nervousness, but my voice cracked under pressure.
I am just here to observe your work. What layer are you working on?
Right now I'm excavating two. 3CL and 3DR.
Can you show me the boundaries?
Obediently, I traced the dirt line with the tip of my trowel and followed up with an explanation of why I felt the sediments ended here.
Can you show me how you record the findings? Start with that one.
He gestured to a half-buried rib bone, and I nodded, wondering if he was here to critique how I did the procedure. The rulers nearly slipped out of my hand as I lined them up for recording. The rib was positioned 29 centimeters to the right and 53 centimeters away from the rear perimeter of the square. As I announced the recordings, Augustine folded his arms and stroked his chin in a methodical manner.
Then, what is the axis?
My brain turned to mush and I stammered on the spot, trying to process his question. It's... Oh. I wasn't paying attention! Oh shoot, I wish I could go. Can I go back? Okay, hold on. 29 centimeters to the right and 53 centimeters. I can't remember how things were measured. Is it in my journal? Cave. Coordinates. X runs parallel to the cave entrance, while Y runs from the entrance. Oh, that doesn't help me very much. Oh boy. Crap. I don't know. I'll take a wild guess. The coordinates are X29 and Y53. Ah! Phew! Okay. Yay, wild guessing works.
Thank you. You're doing well, Petite Fleur.
Once he climbed the ladder, I slumped down and blankly stared at the square before me. What was that even about anyway? I mean, he didn't really give me any feedback. I guess that's a good thing. I did everything perfectly. I repeated that to myself and continued my work, my mood mixed with relief and confidence. After the earlier mistakes, it felt like a minor victory and a step in the right direction. Now to keep it up. Unless he was just saying that to fool us. Yeah! All the catching. Sweet. Oh good, I go to the lab today. I love the lab. 7, 13, 18, 17. Oof. 7 is 15, 6 is 21, 5 is 26. 8, 7. Okay. Phew. 17. Oh, yeah, I should have done some toothpicking. 7 is 15. Brush. Poof. Alright. Middle Paleolithic. Oh, such boys. Hold on, you guys. Did I read about this? Yes. A subdivision of the Stone Age lasting between 300,000 and 45,000 years ago. Considered the epoch of Neanderthals and associated with highly crafted stone cores. Which makes mica and slate excellent examples of cleavage. What? Right. Deandre rubbed the side of his head as his eyes darted from rock to rock in the tray. The entire table was covered with examples from Hendrik's collection. Ah, so that's what kept them. I guess Deandre asked a question while he helped Hendrik carry the trays in. Gripping my own tray, I carefully place it on top of the stack. You can peel the mica apart. Is it mica or mica? Anyway, you can peel it apart like a deck of cards. In geology, cleavage is used to identify overturned beds based on the dipping. Okay, now I really need to know. How can you say stuff like this with a straight face? What do you mean? Never mind. Continue with the cleavage. Right. Once we're finished, we'll go over luster and hardness. Anyway, there's two types of cleavage. Continuous and disjunctive cleavage. Continuous is when... Oh my, the most evil look on Rosemary's face. The door swung open, interrupting the lecture. Rosemary took a small step inside and motioned with her hand. Hen, Helena wants to talk to you about something. It's regarding the upcoming class trip. Oh, then I'll be right there. You two can head back outside. This will take a while. The two exited, and Deandre fiddled with the flaky mica before setting it down. How did that whole conversation start? All I did was ask what rock this was. Then he lit up like a Christmas tree, and before I knew it... How have you been handling the humor? Or how's the elective going? I think we should ask him how his elective's going, because he was really worried about it. How's the first week been? Feel more confident? I think I got the hang of it. I stopped switching the X and Y's around, and my wet screen cups aren't as full from overlooking bones the first time. You've been a big help, Mel. Well, I still have a lot to learn, but I'm glad to be of service. He then zeroed in on a rock, tapping the piece of paper glued to the bottom of the tray, and shook his head. Mel, there's a mineral called Cummingtonite. Cummingtonite? Cummingtonite? Oh no, we are not going there. But seriously. Banning dirty puns. Now. Think of the jokes. Good night, everybody. Peace. I'm out. Gosh. No more rooting for. No more cleavage. No nothing. How can you fail, girl? At least you've succeeded at dancing. My goodness. Terrible. Okay, lab. Volunteer. Lab. Internet. Good catch. Cave, yes. Volunteer, yes. Cave, yes. Catch. Not the lab. We're gonna go to the cave on Friday, and then volunteer. Town dance. I hope. Okay, and how's our relationships going? Ooh, more hearts. Freaking God, I'm just going. There's my BB. Alright. Play. Oh, there's more caves than labs this week. That's very sad to me. Oh. Okay. 17. Ugh. 7:15. Okay. 17:24. That's 30. Ooh! Sweet. Upper Paleolithic. Makes I'm unlocking journal entries, I suppose. Alright. Oops, not cave. Upper Paleolithic. A subdivision of the Stone Age occurring between 45,000 and 10,000 years ago. Modern humans migrated to Europe from Africa, eventually replacing Neanderthals. Organized settlements, cave paintings, and the invention of the bow and arrow happened during this time. How exciting. What is this anyway? It's like a rock, but crusty and reddish. I held up the odd conglomerated mess, which felt like a clump of brittle sticks poking out of a mud mass. That's vomit, regurgitated from a bigger animal. I bet if you break it apart, you'll find a cluster of rodent bones inside. Ugh! Please tell me I don't have to wash it. I don't want it to get all moist again. Oh, he chuckled as he returned to scrubbing a fine tooth with a toothbrush. Nice. Nah, you can leave it as is. One of the team members will dissect it later. I should stop picking all of the bags with the most interesting looking stuff.
You can be like me and pick the smallest ones. At least I feel like I'm making progress when I can go through multiple reports in a day.
The table vibrated and Deandre snatched his phone as Hendrik looked in disapproval. After Deandre tapped the screen a few times, his face fell. He read something, then stuffed the phone into his pocket to hide it. Something up?
Just training schedules. Bad enough I have to miss most of them until I finish this elective.
What are you training? I was surprised you decided to repeat archaeology instead of signing up for a different course in the fall.
Rugby. I play for Perona RC.
There was a beat before Hendrik shot up, the chair screeching back from the sheer force. You have a fanboy. What? You play in the league? That's cool. If I remember correctly, you guys performed pretty well in the final game.
Wait, you're a professional athlete?
Look at them gains, girl.
I've only been on the roster for a year. That's why I vowed to work harder this season. If you ever want game tickets, you know who to ask.
Now I see why you retook the elective.
Right, once I get my required credits and graduate, I'll move to Perona. I'll be able to focus on my training better and regain my independence. Living in New Zealand drained me financially, and I miss having my own place. Though it's possible my brother might join if he doesn't mind the commute to university.
You still plan to return, right? Or talk about moving out? I don't really know what these mean. Like return to Belgium? Or... I don't know. This? Yeah, okay, so you plan to return to New Zealand. You plan to go back to New Zealand someday, right?
I hope so. I actually want to travel during the off-season. You know, backpack across New Zealand since I haven't seen all of it. Maybe go to Australia after.
Australia? I'd love to go there for the maritime archaeology. There are a lot of shipwreck sites. Aside from that, what else is there in Australia?
I admit I wouldn't mind going there to see Ayers Rock.
That famous landmark, right? Is there something special about it?
Deandre and I shared a knowing glance, and we braced ourselves for Hendrik's reply. He leaned in excitedly. Ayers Rock, or Uluru, is an inselberg that was upthrusted during the Peterman orogeny 550 million years ago. Ayers Rock is actually the protruding tip of a nearly vertical slab of... Chantel shrunk back from his spiel, and Deandre groaned.
Oh,
Cutting off Hendrik's explanation.
that sounds dirty.
That's... geology for you?
Never mind.
Peace. The main door swung open and Rosemary stepped out.
Hen, reminding you that the group tour will arrive in about 30 minutes. They're on their way now.
Already? Thanks, Rose. Melissa, I'm going to be ordering everyone to clean up and then head to the cave. We won't be able to get any work done with 20-something kids around. Feel free to pretend to dig if you'd like. It's all for the kids. Hendrik stood up and started the announcement in French. I returned the half-cleaned bone to the tin foil and began washing off the tools. I trekked up to the cave and hastily grabbed supplies as I made my way down to my usual square. Kyler was nowhere to be seen. Odd. Was he needed for something? Maybe he was helping out with the tour. He's not going to pretend to dig for kids. I started my digging, albeit at a relaxed pace, until I could hear footsteps and the chatter of voices entering the cave. Hendrik led a middle-aged teacher and roughly 20 elementary students onto the catwalk, forming a long line. Many of the kids clambered to the railing, poking their heads above or between the bars. They pointed excitedly at all the archaeologists at work, or pretending to dig. It wasn't until I craned my head up that I spotted Kyler near the back. While Hendrik gestured to the roof of the cave, Kyler made fluid motions and signs whenever he spoke. Oh, are you signing for some students? Oh, okay. Duh, the kids must have been curious about him. Slowly, the restless conga inched deeper, but Hendrik stopped where the railing ended. Even in French, I could tell he and the teacher gave stern safety instructions before they reverted into their "learning is fun" voices. During the lecture, Hendrik would pause to address any raised hands. The tour was too distracting for me to focus on work, and I observed the class instead. Hendrik gestured to some of the archaeologists, including Deandre.
Salut! Je m'appelle Deandre. J'ai cru pour l'or.
The kids laughed and shouted something to Deandre, who pretended to be surprised. Once the excitement died down, Hendrik glanced in my direction. Hey, Melissa, we mentioned we had archaeologists from around the world working here. Say hi for us. Smiling widely, I waved and stood on my tiptoes to give them a better view of me. Down here! Bonjour! Je ne parle pas français. I'm from America. There was a chorus of laughter, probably from my silly voice and terrible accent. Hendrik nodded happily and returned to the students. That was a lot of people flashing before my eyes. While Hendrik mentioned Neanderthals, I saw Deandre creeping behind Shoji's square, which was out of view to most of the students. He watched the group as if waiting for the perfect cue to strike? What's that idiot planning? Before Hendrik could finish his sentence, there was a loud roar followed by heavy stomping. Deandre emerged on the catwalk, lunging in a wide stance with arms raised above his head. The kids squealed happily in a mix of surprise and pretend fear, while Hendrik watched in bewilderment. Poor Kyler. Kyler needs the longest vacation ever. Kyler straightened himself up, not impressed with Deandre's antics. He unleashed a stern line of words before pointing at Deandre accusingly. Oh, he's going along with it? Kyler, what?
Deandertal.
Quoi? Yes. The children erupted into laughter, and even Hendrik doubled over, one hand clutching his stomach as he leaned against the railing. Well done, Kyler. That was amazing. It was Deandre's turn to be confused, and the two started their rapid-fire banter. The teacher tried to calm everyone down since Hendrik was unable to speak. Hendrik looks like he's loving it. Finally, Hendrik recovered, still chuckling between breaths, and motioned for the class to exit the cave. The teacher repeated Hendrik's instructions, and the children slowly filed out, this time led by Kyler. Before they completely vanished, Hendrik said something to Deandre. Deandre was startled, but followed Hendrik, leaving us alone in a silent cave. Well, almost silent. Many of the students chuckled, murmuring softly as I spoke about the events that occurred. The buzz was over, and I inserted my earbuds, preparing to excavate seriously. Still, that was rather entertaining. It seemed like everyone involved with the tour was having fun, including, dare I say, Kyler too? An hour later, Kyler returned and resumed his excavation. My curiosity won over, and I patted him on the shoulder. Yes. Sorry, was wondering how it went. How did the rest of the tour go? It went really well, even with Deandre's antics. He's good with kids, probably because he's childish himself and kept them entertained. This year has been a truly interesting experience. Oh? In what way? I've been talking to the other students more. First you, Shoji, even Deandre. I never expected Hendrik to ask me to help out with the tour either. It's a bit overwhelming at times. I'm not used to socializing, but I don't mind it. Even so, I think you've been doing a good job. I'm not great at explaining things, but you seem more relaxed than when we first met. It's something I have to work on, but thank you. Feeling our conversation die down, we returned to our tasks. He was still as diligent as ever. I'm I'm glad he opened up a little during this excavation. Yeah, Kyler, good for you.
Oh.
My last lab day. Before all the cave stuff happens. Blech.